Hi everybody, welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. It's the calm before the Kentucky Derby week storm, but Daily Racing Form handicappers Mike Beer, Matt Bernier, and I will cover the three graded stakes races on tap this weekend. The Santa Margarita at Santa Anita, the San Francisco Mile at Golden Gate Fields, and Sunday's feature race at Lone Star, the Steve Sexton Mile. Nicole Russo's pedigree pick segment focuses on the William Walker Stakes at Churchill Downs. David Aragona's Timeform US spotlights the elusive Quality at Belmont. And Craig Milkowski of Timeform US, his pace projector segment focuses on the Woodstock Stakes at Woodbine. Plus best bets, horses to watch, and lots more. So let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Horse Watch segment. Mike Beer, NYRA analyst, you found a turf horse that did not have an easy trip last time.
Yeah, back on turf, sprinting at Aqueduct in the closing week up there. This is a New York bred named Outrageous Bet. He's 5 years old now. You're not going to see him in any stakes races anytime soon. But he got pretty good last year for Gary Contessa. Won a couple of races at prices. He ran the fastest races of his life as a 4-year-old. This is his 5-year-old debut here, off the layoff. We're going to pick it up as they come to the stretch. He was held up behind horses all the way around the turn here. The horse that's on the lead has been on the lead from the start. He got a real heads-up ride and just took control of this thing. You're going to see Outrageous Bet. He's over behind horses. He has no chance to win from here, but watch the run he puts in. They're inside the 8th pole already. He's just getting clear now. He puts in a big run to make this thing relatively close at the end. I thought this was a pretty good performance for him. First off the bench. He can do better than this going forward.
Matt, you found something at Keeneland last week that ran off the screen. Surprise, Chad Brown.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Chad's world. Guarana looks like she could be the next stakes caliber filly in his barn. She's a 3-year-old. She debuted here last Friday. Let's take a look at this run. It's a sloppy sealed track, so I understand anybody that looks at this with a little bit of sort of side eye, where maybe it's a little bit better than it actually is given the track. But you look at the pedigree, she's by Ghost Zapper. We know won the 2004 Breeders' Cup Classic. The second dam is Pleasant Home. She won the 2005 Breeders' Cup Distaff. And look at this. I mean, this is basically a paid workout at this point. She earned a 93 buyer and a 113 raw Timeform rating. The numbers check out. It sounds like she's probably on to bigger and better things in New York.
Check out this 2-year-old filly at Keeneland for trainer Wesley Ward. Wesley's something like 17 for his last 27 with 2-year-old first-time starters during the Keeneland spring meet. And he's had several that ran faster than Anna's Fast, but maybe not as impressive. Let's take a look at Anna's Fast debut effort from earlier this week. She went right to the front and showed easy speed. This horse in second is a Steve Asmussen-trained daughter of Successful Appeal, who is well meant for this race. On the chase throughout, and Anna's Fast just never gets out of a gallop. Her ears are pricked. She's just going very easily under Tyler Gaffalione. She is the first starter at a Fast Anna, who is a very fast son of Medaglia d'Oro. This horse was a $32,500 yearling, and it was a very successful pinhook because last month she sold for $470,000 after breezing a furlong in 9 and change. The dam won 10 times. The second dam was a stakes place dirt sprinter. This is the family of Hidden Lake. Wesley Ward's got something here with Anna's Fast. Again, this race wasn't the fastest race that you're going to see from a Ward first-time starter, but I think this filly has loads of upside. Keep an eye on her in some of the early season stakes races down the road at either Churchill Downs or New York. Let's get to some handicapping. The Santa Margarita is the feature race at Santa Anita on Saturday. Saturday's DRF Bets race of the day is the Grade 2 Santa Margarita Stakes at Santa Anita. Let's take a look at this field. They're going 9 furlongs for $200,000. These are fillies and mares, and the race is carded as race number 8. For expanded stakes previews of all the major races all weekend long, plus Kentucky Derby contender profiles, Mike Welsh's Clocker reports, and lots more, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. The number 6 Lamuna, Mike, woke up last time out. Was it turf? Was it a 1 1/8, or did she find the right field?
Yeah, I think a lot of those things probably conspired to the performance. Not only that, but she also had a pretty good pace to run into. Let's put the replay up of the race here. This is an 86 buyer. She's off it. You're going to see her come wide and just storm by this field in the stretch. A pretty impressive visually performance anyway, but it's still only an 86 buyer. She has turfed the dirt for Baltus here. She has won twice on the dirt in the past, but only with buyers of 70 and 85. And so far, she hasn't really classed up in stakes company when they've tried her. So you're taking 3-1 here on a horse who has an awful lot to prove.
Matt, you can make the argument that several of the horses in this race are exposed, that we have already seen their best. It's very possible and very unlikely that we have seen Withholding Info's best. She's only started 3 times and she showed a lot of potential.
Yeah, that's a big part of the reason that I ended up going toward her. I just look at it and say she's so lightly raced, and I kind of know what everybody else's game is at this point. If Paradise Woods runs her A race, she's probably just better. But let's take a look at the replay of the N1X that she ran in most recently. This is Withholding Info. She's already taken over, but I like the way that she sat in behind horses professionally, angled out, and she's going to go on and finish very well. She's got a beautiful pedigree. Her mom was executive privilege, who was a Grade 1 winner at 2. I just feel like she's the one with the most upside in here, and I don't love anybody else.
I feel the exact same way Matt does. I'm not sure that I love Withholding Info in here, but she's a horse I'm willing to take a shot with and give her a chance to step forward, because at the end of the day, I didn't want the more proven horses.
Withholding Info, good-bodied individual, beautiful pedigree, as Matt mentioned, and again, a ton of upside. Matt made a good point before we saw the morning line favorite Paradise Woods' seasonal debut. Maybe she can't run anymore. It was kind of an uninspiring start. Last time out, they stretched her out in the Beholder Mile. It was slightly improved, at least from a Beyer speed figure standpoint. Let's take a look at that race right now. She was being asked for run entering the far turn, and she just ran in spots, it seemed to me. Like in the stretch right now, she's just going up and down. She's going to get passed for second by Marley's Freedom, and it looks like maybe she takes off a little bit here once she is engaged by Marley's Freedom. She's going to pass a tiring pace setter who might not have wanted the distance. Maybe Paradise Woods can't run anymore, and 1 1/8 could be pushing it. But I do think that Mike Smith has got to be aggressive. I know Mike has always wanted Paradise Woods to be forwardly placed, if not on the lead. They've been very content to take her back. In this kind of race, I think you're supposed to send and either sit off long shot just a smidge or try to control this race from the start, because this could be the last chance for Paradise Woods. It'll be my last chance picking her on top. She'll be my play, though, to get back on track in the Santa Margarita Stakes. Nicole Russo's Pedigree Pick segment focuses on the feature race at Churchill Downs on Saturday evening. For turf sprinters, it's the William Walker Stakes. And then Craig Milkowski from Timeform US spotlights the Woodstock Stakes from Woodbine for his pace projector. Let's go to those segments right now.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo coming to you for Out of the Gate. The eyes of the racing world this week will be on Churchill Downs, which opens its meet Saturday night with the William Walker Stakes for 3-year-olds sprinting on the turf. I want to zero in on a sire who will be represented in both this race and the Kentucky Derby, going 1.25 miles on the dirt. You might think that would make one of these horses ill-suited to their spot, as they're so different, but both are well regarded because the late City Zip was nothing if not versatile. Bulleted, who goes in the William Walker, has won the first 3 starts of his career, including this win last out at Keeneland. In his first start since taking the inaugural Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint on the Churchill course. Bulletin is actually a half to Tiz Ms. Sue, a Grade 1 winner rounding on the dirt, but plenty of turf ability in his family, with the likes of Champion Cozine and multiple Group 1 winner Hawkbill back in there. No surprise that City Zip gave you a quick 2-year-old. He was a Grade 1 winning 2-year-old sprinter himself, and he proved to be a good turf sire with the likes of Day at the Spa and Catch a Glimpse, and also a sprint sire with the likes of Champions Work All Week and Finest City. Now, shifting gears over to improbable City Zip's Derby hope, it's unfair to say that just because he can sire a sprint horse that the City Zips can't go long as well. Day at the Spa and Catch a Glimpse both locked up championship seasons with 2-turn victories on the turf. Catch a Glimpse went on to win the Belmont Oaks at the classic distance of 1.25 miles. Improbable's female family is also a pure classic dirt type one, as he's out of an AP Indy mare from the family of Hard Spun and Little Current. So City Zip's 2 diverse 3-year-old colts running at Churchill this coming week, I think that they're a great example that sires are only half, and that when using pedigree in your handicapping, you might really want to take a peek at the female family of the horse in question to see which of a versatile sire's traits might be strengthened. We'll be covering you all opening weekend at Churchill Downs and, of course, all Kentucky Derby week here on DRF TV. Thanks for tuning in once again to Out of the Gate.
Hi, this is Craig Milkowski at Timeform US for this week's edition of Out of the Gate. In today's Pace Projector segment, I'm going to talk about the 8th race being run at Woodbine on Saturday, who just opened up last week, kicking off their meet. And it's a 6-furlong race for 3-year-olds. It did draw a filly in here who I'm going to talk about. And the reason I went with it is we did get a fast pace projected. You can see the red See Details box in the right. And I've also highlighted a lot of horses here on the preview page who are listed as either speed or trackers. We have a full 4 of them, and we'll take a closer look at the pace projector now, and you can see those same 4, which isn't always the case where those horses have shown the most speed despite that running style, are the 4 shown right up in front. This includes 2 of the horses who are the morning line favorites, and then I'm going to talk about that horse that I like the most. The favorite is Yes, I'm Free. It's deserving favorite. He ran against Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint winner Bulletin last time out. He pressed a fast pace, actually made a bit of a move around the turn before fading late. He got a 109 Timeform US speed figure that day, which is the best in the field, best last race, and probably best career. I didn't look through every single race, but I think it's probably the top race that you're going to find in any of the PPs here. The few question marks we do have about this horse is 1, the projected fast pace, and 2, he's never run on anything but turf, and at Woodbine they have a synthetic surface which he's going to try for the first time. The second choice on the morning line is the 4-horse Corduroy Road. I have a bit more questions about him. While I do feel that Yes, I Am Free is the horse to beat, Corduroy Road, he's never really had to face much pressure early on. He ran slow last time out. You can see that opening first quarter in a just glacial 64. The time before that, the pace was just moderate, and his figure was still tailing off a bit. His speed figures aren't much to write home about for this group, especially compared to that 109 we saw. I will give a word of caution. He hasn't run since November 30th of his 2-year-old year. Horses generally come back running faster as 3-year-olds, particularly this late in the year. I mean, we're almost in May. So I think he is going to be a horse to deal with in here. He's going to be part of the pace, but he's the one I like least. The horse I am going to go with is actually a filly in here, and that's the 5, Breathtaking. There's several things I like about this horse. One, she won first time out, which tells me the layoff she's had of about 6 months shouldn't be too much of a problem. She's run well off the bench as she did first time out, and she did it at a shorter distance than today at the really short 4.5 furlongs that day. She had a really nice season. She stepped up in the stakes company. She actually won a couple, including a grade 3 at a longer distance. When she got a setup similar to what we project here, 3 races back, she was able to close into it and win pretty easily. She stretched that out around 2 turns, won that grade 3 Mazine Stakes. Got up late, rallied into not even a fast pace before last time out before she went to the bench. Once again, ran into a slow pace, probably a little better competition, and didn't run quite as well. I expect her, again, she's one that looks a little late on the speed figures, but given the setup she's going to get, the time she's had away, I don't expect her to be running low 90s. I expect her to get probably into the hundreds if she runs her best race. But the biggest thing I like about this horse is her late pace rating. Just a quick look back at that preview page, and you can see her late pace rating, the 96, next to her closer running style, is just head and shoulders above everything else in this field. Nobody else is above a 60. She should be able to just run all by herself, save ground at the back of the pack, and make a big run late. So I'm going to bet on 5 Breathtaking. I'll play an exacto with the morning line favorite, Yes, I Am Free. That does it for this week for Out of the Gate, and I'll see you next week.
Are you a horse player looking to raise your game? For over 120 years, expert handicappers have relied on Daily Racing Form as their must-have source for news and data, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures, Timeform US pace figures, and integrated replays. DRF Formulator is the most powerful handicapping tool on the market today. Use what the pros use. Go to drf.com/formulator and enter code DRFTV to get your first card free. drf.com. Raise your game.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's throw up one of the main races in all of Northern California, the Grade 3 San Francisco Mile, The Northern California faithful look forward to this race each and every year. $250,000 is the purse. Carded as race number 10 at Golden Gate Fields on Saturday. For expanded stakes previews of many of the major races, including the San Francisco Mile, plus lots more, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, I knew who you were going to pick once they drew the race. Did not need to see the past performances. River Boyne is one of your favorites, and he's had trouble in his last two.
Yeah, he hasn't been very lucky in his last two starts. This is a horse who obviously was a really good 3-year-old on the turf. No real break for him. He's made 2 starts so far as a 4-year-old, and the first of those, the Thunder Road, he was very unlucky, never able to clear traffic in the stretch. A race he easily could have won if he had gotten clear. And then this race, last time in the Kilrow, the Grade 1, and I would dare say he was much unluckier this time than he was 2 starts back, if only because it's a much better field, and we could put the replay up right now. A much better field he's facing, and he just last and wide the entire way here as they do not go a fast pace. They are going to sprint for home now, and you're going to see River Boyne make a very game run to gain ground on this field. There's no way for him to really get up in here. I thought he did well to finish as close as he did. I think the field he faces Saturday not as good as this one. I think this is a good spot for this horse.
River Boyne, legitimate graded stakes horse. Matt, your horse is taking a step up in class, but he is razor sharp. He's got to stretch out in distance.
Yeah, there's a couple questions here for Blitzkrieg. Find out, one, the distance, because he's 1 for 6 at it, but I think he's been a different horse ever since Doug O'Neill has picked him up. They claimed him 2 starts back. He's run twice going down the hill, both of them open-length victories. Let's go to his most recent one. This was against non-winners of one other than company. You're going to see him get a little bit goofy down the lane. He's going to swap leads. I don't know if that's reason for cause and alarm bells to be going off, but I think he's just that far clear of everyone else that he might just get a little bit bored out there. I think this is a really nice horse. He's paired up career buyer tops of 90. And if he moves up into sort of the mid-90 range, he should be sitting a perfect trip in here and behind a horse like Many Roses. I'll take my chances at 6-1.
Matt and I talked about it in the expanded stakes preview available on video.drf.com. Phil D'Amato excels with horses coming off long layoffs, and the number 1 Bowie's Hero has not been seen since the Del Mar summer meet. Bowie's Hero himself runs very well off layoffs, and Bowie's Hero, who won the Grade 1 Kilrow Mile in 2018, certainly can step with ease. Let's go back to his race 2 starts back, the Grade 2 Eddie Reed at 1 1/8, a distance that might be a little bit far for him. You see him down on the inside. He's trying to get out right now, and he's going to get bounced around by the horse to his outside. He'll eventually get clear in mid-stretch. He'll come with an okay run. Catapult on the far outside, who's really acquitted himself very well since this race, just runs right by him, but he gets into a little bit of trouble late. It probably did not cost him a placing. Again, 1 1/8 too far. Based off that performance, he was actually the favorite in the Grade 2 Del Mar Mile. He never got in the picture. Something physically must have gone amiss. He was last all the way around the track. He turned into the stretch and passed merely a few tired horses late. I like that they gave him time. D'Amato has been pointing for this race, and there should be a little bit of pace to set up the 1 Bowie's Hero in the Grade 3 San Francisco Mile. We'll move from Saturday to Sunday. Sunday's graded stakes races at Lone Star Park, and it's a tough edition of the Steve Sexton Mile. Horses from all across the country will converge on Lone Star on Sunday for their feature race. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 3 $300,000 Steve Sexton Mile. For expanded stakes previews of all the major races this weekend and lots more, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, the number 1, title ready, made a big run last time out into it in the stymie. I thought he hung.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he had a real excuse in the race. I do think he ran pretty well, and in a lot of ways, when you start going through this Steve Sexton Mile from top to bottom, it almost feels like it's his race to lose now. We'll see how he does in here. We're going to look at his last race here up in New York, the Stymie. This is a 1-turn mile, and you're going to see him range right up to Vino Rosso on the lead here. It looks like he's going to go by, and then he doesn't get by here, and he's going to settle for second base. Not a bad performance by any stretch, but certainly a race where right here, looks like he's going to win inside the 8th pole. He's turned away at the end. He ran a 97 buyer, though. If he runs a 97 buyer on Sunday, he's going to be really tough to beat. I'm not way against him in here, guys, but I did feel like I wanted to take maybe a little shot against him.
Matt, your top selection in this race has winning graded stakes experience already at Lone Star. He took the Lone Star Park Handicap last year after finishing a better-than-it-looks 3rd behind B Jersey. Last year's Steve Sexton Mile, listen, a lot better than this year's.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think Shotgun Cowboy, sure, the outside draw, short run into the first turn, not ideal going a mile, but I think there's reason to believe that he's a little bit dirtied up as far as his form is concerned. Let's throw up his most recent run at Oaklawn Park. And this one, to me, I understand it may not look that great on paper, but I think there's reason to believe. I don't think he's at his best when he's on a wet track. This is what he encountered here. So you draw a line through the last 3 races. Prior to that, you had a long layoff. I'm going to give him the benefit of that one. Then you have a mile and an eighth. I don't think that's what he wants. He won a race at Remington at a mile and a 16th over a sloppy track. I think he was just better than everyone else. And then the race prior to that is coming first off of a layoff. Before that, you've got all those races at Lone Star that he ran so well in last year, including the Lone Star Park Handicap. Again, maybe I'm going over the top as far as making excuses for 6-7 races, but I think there's reason to believe at 12-1 that he's going to run one of his better ones here.
Mike, coming from Western Louisiana is Mosito Rojo, and this horse is a win machine.
Yeah, he does like to win races. I guess he's got that going for him. I do think this is probably the toughest race they've ever tried him in, and so we'll just see how he stacks up. But again, it's just a race where I wanted to take a shot against the shorter prices, and I thought he might be a good one. He is so far 14 for 16 in his career on dirt. I mean, he's a really nice horse. He likes to win races. Let's look at his most recent race here. This is at Delta Downs, a 2-turn mile. He got a nice trip. He just sat right up on the pace, on the rail. He took over on the second turn. You're going to see the favorite come after him in the stretch, but he's never letting that horse in. He will have to run better than this if he's going to beat this field. But I like his running style. I think he'll be forward in here. He doesn't need the lead, but he'll be up close to the pace. We'll see if he can up his game a little bit.
I'm going to go with Matt in here with the number 10 Shotgun Cowboy. I've always been a fan of this millionaire. It's fair to question whether he can still run anymore. His form sort of took a downhill dive after his win in the Lone Star Park Handicap. But I agree with Matt that maybe he didn't appreciate those wet tracks in his last few races. And even though he breaks from a far outside post, he's reunited with jockey David Cabrera, who's been very aggressive with this horse in the past. I think what's going to happen is that the 8 and the 9 are going to leave out there hard, and Cabrera is going to hustle Shotgun Cowboy into a contending position, maybe tracking 3 wide on the backstretch. I'd like to give Shotgun Cowboy one more chance at a big price. David Aragona's Time Form U.S. Spotlight segment focuses on the feature race at Belmont on Saturday. That's the elusive quality for turf sprinters. Let's go to that segment, but stay with us. Best bets are still coming up.
Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona with this week's Time Form US Spotlight. I'm pretty excited about the opening of Belmont Park this weekend, and I'm going to take a look at the feature race on Belmont's Saturday card. It is the elusive quality stakes at 7 furlongs on the turf for older horses, and a true 7-horse field. The favorite is probably going to be the number 4 Krampus, but we'll start by taking a look at the pace projector for this race, because while the pace projector is not predicting a pace that is going to be fast or slow necessarily, you do want to know that there are 2 clear speeds in this event, the number 1 Abiding Star and the number 2 Fixed Point. Both of these horses have done their best work when able to secure the front end, so we'll see how the pace plays out between these two if they go too fast up front. All of the other runners are really horses that prefer to come from farther off the pace, so trips are going to be pretty important in this elusive quality. We'll move on to the contenders, and we'll begin with that aforementioned favorite, the number 4 Krampus. He's the class of this field after winning the Grade 3 Canadian Turf 2 back. I'm not going to hold his Appleton loss against him last time. He was 4-1 that day in a more competitive field, and John Velasquez just seemed to let him get too far off the pace. You see those blue color-coded pace figures indicating that the pace was slow, and that really favored horses towards the front end, like the eventual winner Dr. Edgar. And Krampus just left himself with way too much to do. He was still a good 7 or 6 lengths back at the top of the stretch, actually closed reasonably well to get within 3.5 lengths of the winner at the wire. The question for Krampus here is, how will he handle the turn back to 7 furlongs? Because there are horses in this field who are really more adept at sprint distances than he is, and this is kind of uncharted territory for him. I respect his talent and I respect his class. I'm just not sure he's a horse that I want to take as the favorite, trying something new for the first time. The number 5 Therapist could be among the horses that are likely to be the second or third choice in this race, and he fits the conditions of this race very well, because 7 furlongs on the turf around 1 turn, that is really what this horse wants to do. I think the big question for Therapist is, how good is he compared to the rest of this field, because his best efforts and his best speed figures have really come against listed stakes company or against New York bred company. The times that he stepped up to face graded stakes horses or tougher, older horses, he hasn't really fared that well. He probably was never going to be successful in the Saranac 2-back because the 1 1/8 mile distance of that race is just way too far for him. And the same goes for the Tropical Park Derby last time, when he's really not a 2-turn horse. He wants to go the 1-turn where he can be a closing sprinter. So I like him getting back to this trip. I'm just not sure that he really stacks up against horses like Krampus and some others from a class perspective. I'll use him defensively, but if he's the second choice in this race, I want to look elsewhere. The new face in this race is the number 3, Emmaus, and I think this is a horse that you must respect. Just looking at his time form ratings from England last year and France, they really stack up quite well with this field. The 117 time form rating that he earned in the King Richard III Stakes last April, that could potentially make him the winner of this race. That was over a heavy turf course, but he's shown that he handles good turf courses as well, so I'm not too concerned if there's good to firm going at Belmont on Saturday. 7 furlongs appears to be his best distance, since that's the trip over which he's earned all 3 of his career victories. I respect Emmaus, and I like that he's attracting Jose Ortiz for this U.S. debut. The real question is how prepared is he to put forward the top effort coming off the layoff. I'm definitely using him, though. My top pick in this race is the number 1, Abiding Star, and I think he might offer the best value of all the horses that I'm considering. He's 8-1 on the morning line, and I think you're going to get somewhere around that price. This horse is a little bit inconsistent, and I get why some people might not be willing to trust him in this race, because he's coming off 2 performances in which he finished far back out of his last 3. But he's had real excuses in his recent races, especially last time in that El Prado. Just look at the time form US pace figures for the early portion of this race. At the first call, he got a 182. At the second call, he got a 148. Those are gigantic pace figures, indicating how fast that pace really was. And Abiding Star had to rush up to get the lead from the outside post position in a 12-horse field as they go right into the clubhouse turn at Gulfstream Park. He was just never going to be successful that day with that kind of trip. Prior to that, he's run some pretty fast speed figures, and he seems to do his best work at Belmont Park. He likes 1 turn, and he's not a horse that necessarily needs the lead, even though the pace projector shows him in front. He actually ran quite well on that June 6th turf sprint last year at Belmont Park, where he closed from far back to finish second to eventual stakes winner Sandy Slew. There are a number of races that Abiding Star has run for the Ned Allard barn. He gets back into that stable for this race that make him quite competitive with this field, and I think he's going to fly under the radar here, and he's going to run pretty well because he has a recency edge on a lot of his competitors. So I'm taking a shot with Abiding Star in the elusive quality and hoping for a bit of a price on this one. Now let's send it back to the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Matt, you've got something on the San Francisco Mile undercard.
Yeah, we talked about it. A lot of good racing up at Golden Gate on Saturday afternoon. I like the 5th race. It's the Golden Poppy, a mile and a 16th for fillies and mares on the grass. I want to go to the far outside. This is a horse called Bella Luma. Now, Bella Luma's most recent run, she took on males in a race on the synthetic track. And while I'm going to show you the run in the Berkeley going back to the end of last year, this is the tape right now. We can throw that up. I can understand people looking at it saying, well, this race on Saturday is going to be on turf. Her form on synthetic is better than it is on grass, but given the fact that she can run this well against a pretty salty group of males, I think that at least translates well to a race like this on Saturday, where she's not facing any world beaters in here. You see her coming on the outside. She's only going to lose by a few lengths. You got horses like Flamboyant and Editore in there. They'd be barred from the wagering against these girls on Saturday. I just think she's interesting with the outside post. Blinkers go on. She prepped against boys, now back in against girls. I'll give her a look at 4-1.
Might be your Naira analyst. I'll give you the setup. Your best bets at Belmont, and it's as easy as Vini, VD.
Yeah, good job, Billman. Vici is where you're going with that. This is a turf sprint, race number 3 at Belmont. There's 2 things about this race that I want to talk about here. First of all, the 2 favorites on the morning line are Douse's Beach and Pagliacci, 2 horses who I am just not a fan of, and I want no part of those 2 horses. Vici's not exactly a win machine. But there are things to like about this horse. His last 6 starts for Mike Maker have all been in stakes races. He is finally getting class relief, and he's turning back after trying some longer races in his last 3. Let's look at the last time he sprinted in an allowance race. This is at Kentucky Downs, and he is going to thrash this field. He set a nice trip right up on the pace, and he just powers away from them in the stretch with a 92 buyer. This was a really good performance. He's back in a similar spot now for the first time since then, and he's 4-1 on the morning line. If he goes off at 4-1 in this race, I will happily take it.
It's not going to be easy for my best bet this week, but I was very impressed with the debut run of the #1 Landeskog in race number 9 at Oaklawn, the Bachelor Stakes. Let's take a look at that debut for trainer Doug O'Neill. This horse showed good speed from the beginning, put away 2 pace foes, and John Court does not get to the bottom of this horse. This is what's known as ridden out and geared down in the final 16th of a mile. 88 Beyer speed figure for Landeskog, who now steps up for his second start against stakes horses. He is going to face a plethora of other speeds and is going to break from the rail and be forced to run and gun. But I think from what I saw in that debut, and the runner-up did come back to win in good time in his very next start, I think this horse has some ability. I think he might be a graded caliber sprinter down the road. If he can get through with the Bachelor, he'll be on his way. 7-2 on the morning line for the 1 Landeskog in the Bachelor on Saturday. We thank you for watching Out of the Gate, and we urge you to follow all of DRFTV's latest offerings. Please follow on Twitter at DRF Video for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority. Please follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. And remember, next week you're going to want to stay tuned to DRFTV all weekend long. 2 editions of Out of the Gate, one for the Kentucky Oaks, one for the Kentucky Derby. The Matt Bernier Show, focusing on many of the major contenders for the Kentucky Derby. Mike Welsh's Clocker Report, all of the stakes previews for the Friday and Saturday Churchill card, and lots more. So until next week, best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.